You don't just lose someone's attention when you miss their quiet, hopeful glances. You lose momentum and trust, and it starts snowballing fast. If your last interaction left them wondering whether you're really seeing them, you can clear it and close the loop before distance becomes their new assumption. Trust does not live in words alone. Trust also lives in micro signals that say, "I am here with you and I am paying attention." An attentive glance works like a quiet promise. It tells your partner, co-worker, or friend that your mind has stayed on the thread. Notice how a quick, steady look can feel like agreement before anyone speaks. When that glance disappears, your nervous system reads it as absence. Even if nothing else changes, your mind may start filling the gap with suspicion, like a phone call that drops right in the middle of a serious sentence. In conflict, those signals get weighted more heavily. You both scan for "Are you really with me?" and "Are you really listening?" If you miss the glance, or if your attention slips at the wrong moment, you create a mismatch between what you meant and what it felt like. Kleinke's research on eye gaze found that how much people look at each other shapes how they judge warmth and interest. In experiments summarized from his work, direct gaze tends to make people seem more engaged, while avoidance tends to make people seem less approachable. The effect is not magic. It is pattern detection by the brain, the same way you notice when a cashier stops looking at the register. Track how your brain reacts when someone keeps their eyes down during a serious check-in. That gaze down can read like disengagement, even when the person is technically listening. Once your mind labels the moment as a not attended, it changes how it interprets the next sentence. Kleinke's findings matter because conflict magnifies perception. If attentive glances are part of the message, then missing them is a message too. Repair has to address the mismatch, not just the topic. John Gottman and his team studied couples during problem talks where stress rises fast. They tracked how often partners made repair attempts, small moves that diffuse escalation, like acknowledging emotion using humor or softening tone. In Gottman's research program, those repairs strongly predict whether a couple stays stable over time. Notice how a single calming correction can change the temperature of a heated moment. When one partner misses an attentive cue, the other often feels it immediately, like hearing static right as a name is spoken. A repair attempt acts like a reset of the shared signal. Gottman's work also makes a specific point about closing loops. If your partner shows distress and you respond with understanding, trust can rebound. If your response ignores the signal, the loop stays open and the body keeps treating the moment as unresolved. Mehrabian is often quoted for a three-part model of communication, and many people misread it. The careful version is that non-verbal cues can carry unusually high weight when the message is about feelings or attitude rather than a clear factual statement. Eye behavior falls into that non-verbal channel. Compare how a muted nod versus a warm glance changes what your brain believes. Your body does not wait for perfect wording when your feelings are on the line. If your facial attention does not match your intent, your partner may feel rejected, even when you meant "I am with you." That is why missing attentive glances can break trust faster than a wrong fact. Repair has to realign what the cues signaled with what you actually meant. Otherwise, the conversation can keep circling the same pain. Catherine Williams and John Bargh examined how attention and gaze shift social interpretation. In their line of work, eye gaze can steer how people infer what others intend, even when the situation is ambiguous. That matters because conflict often is ambiguous until the cues clarify it. Imagine the same sentence paired with two different gaze patterns. When the other person's eyes feel locked on you, your mind treats the message as relational. When the eyes drift, your mind may treat it as disengagement or even dismissal. If you missed a glance that would have clarified connection, repair is not just "oh, I meant well." Repair is making your intent visible again. That means acknowledging the specific cue your partner experienced as missing. Restorative justice, developed in part through leaders like Howard Zinn, treats harm as something that damages relationships, not only rules. Many restorative processes start with acknowledgment that names what happened, who was affected, and what repair looks like in real life. The goal is to rebuild the bond by aligning actions with the community's safety. Notice how naming the harm feels different from general apologies. A person can say sorry and still leave a trust gap if they do not connect the words to the experienced impact. In relationship terms, missing attentive glances is a small harm that still tells the other person, "He did not hold you in mind." Restorative justice shows why repair has to be concrete and relational. When someone names the specific cue, the other person can update their belief. That is the close the loop part the mind gets the missing information it needed to feel safe again. Marshall Rosenberg's nonviolent communication trains people to speak about observations, feelings, and needs without blame. It pushes you toward precision, like separating "you did not look at me" from "you do not care." When you repair a trust cue break, that precision helps both minds update correctly. Picture the moment you realized you missed their attentive glance. Then say it back as a clear observation, not as an identity judgment. Your partner is more likely to accept repair when it sounds like accurate seeing. Nonviolent communication also values empathy as a way to restore connection. If your partner felt unseen, empathy is not a general feeling. It is a specific readout of what their nervous system likely experienced. When empathy matches reality, trust can reattach to your behavior. Amy Edmondson's work on psychological safety shows that people speak more freely when they believe the environment is safe. Psychological safety does not mean zero conflict. It means the risk of being misunderstood is lower because leaders handle mistakes with care and clarity. Track how employees react when a manager says, "He did not mean it," while also addressing what went wrong. If the leader responds to the cue that caused harm, the team's guard can soften. Trust signals, including attention and responsiveness, become part of the safety system. Edmondson's research highlights that repair works when it reduces uncertainty. Missing an attentive glance can create uncertainty about whether you are truly present. Repair closes the loop by providing clarity that your partner or co-worker can trust. Bowen's family systems theory describes patterns like triangles where tension gets pulled into a third person or in relational stress, people may shift attention away from the direct relationship, not because they stop caring, but because the system tries to reduce discomfort. That shift can show up as missed glances, averted eyes, or delayed responses. Notice how quick side glances during an argument can signal escape, even when you think you are just thinking. If your attention moves off the person who is upset, it changes the emotional math in the room. Their mind may interpret it as avoidance, not processing. Bowen's ideas help explain why repair has to recenter the dyad, the direct pair connection. Closing the loop is not only an apology, it is returning your attention signal to the person who needs it most. Restoring balance means re-establishing predictable cue timing, so the partner stops treating each moment like a mystery. In behavioral research on threat learning, people react more strongly when cues are inconsistent and less strongly when cues become reliable. Reliability turns the nervous system from scanning into settling. In a workplace example, if a manager's messages arrive late on Monday, but consistent by Tuesday, your stress response shifts. You may still feel busy, yet your brain stops treating every ping like danger. The body relaxes when the pattern becomes legible. Notice how reintroducing attentive glances at the same kind of moment rebuilds legibility. When the glance cue returns right as your partner's meaning depends on it, interpretation becomes simpler. Impact can soften because prediction updates in your favor. The loop closes when attentive glances become a stable signal of promise-keeping, not a rare event. That stability lets your partner put away the extra monitoring.